Welcome to Students Incorporated. I'm your host, Mr. Jason. Join me weekly as my students and I bring you content that's informative, positive, fun, and uplifting. This podcast is created and produced with the help of students from the International Community School of Bangkok. Welcome back. Today we are standing on the edge of the new marketing frontier. This is the second to last episode of Season 4, and we want to talk about marketing. It is, after all, the class that my students are taking with me. So what is the new marketing frontier? What does that even mean? Well, for one, we think social media as we know it is dying. There is a shift happening, a shift from massive, noisy platforms to the private, high-trust world of micro-communities. We're also going to translate the weirdest marketing buzzwords of 2026 that are currently blowing up everyone's feeds. Joining me in the studio today are co-hosts Pun and Midnight, plus two of my marketing class students. We've got current headlines, a deep dive discussion on where your attention is actually going, and of course, the highly anticipated part 9 of our 10-part story, The Mystery of St. Augustine. The old marketing playbook is dying fast, so let's try to write a new one. But first, let's hear our quote of the day and get some headline news.
Now let's get into the quote. Today's quote is the perfect anchor for our future of marketing theme. It comes from author and marketing expert Andrew Davis, who said, "Content builds relationships. Relationships are built on trust, and trust drives revenue." So we're seeing that the idea of just being the loudest in the room doesn't work like it used to. So as we move into micro communities, you can't just buy your way in with a loud ad. You have to be invited in, and that invitation only comes if you've built a foundation of trust. Whether you're a marketing student or a global brand, your job isn't to be the loudest anymore. It's actually to be the most trusted person in a circle. So keep that word, trust, in mind as we talk about the future of marketing. And that's our quote of the day. Now onto some headline news.
Thank you for our quote of the day. As we look at the business landscape this year, the future of marketing isn't just a concept, it's appearing in our news feeds every single day. Here are 3 headlines that every marketer should know about. Our first headline comes from the Q2 report of Digital Marketing Insider. The headline reads, "The Rise of GEO, Generative Engine Optimization." Traditional SEO is officially sharing the stage with GEO. SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization, and GEO stands for Generative Engine Optimization. Reports this quarter showed that over 30% of its users have shifted their search habits from Google to AI answer engines like Gemini and ChatGPT. For marketers, this means the goal isn't just about ranking number 1 anymore, it's about being the source that the AI cites in its answers. Our second headline comes from Reuters Institute Media Trends. The headline reads, "The Social Media Midlife Crisis and the Shift to Video." The reach on static feed posts has hit an all-time low. Platforms like Instagram and TikTok have pivoted entirely towards a new format called serialized social. Serialized social are mini drama series and unscripted long-form discussions. Audiences are no longer scrolling for photos. They're looking for deep dive community content and social telenovelas, which are, by the way, Latin American melodramas that are famous for integrating social issues into their stories. Hopefully, you caught some of those new marketing terms. And our final headline comes from Cantor Future Trends. The headline reads, "Agentic AI hits the shopping cart." We're seeing a massive surge in AI shopping agents. These are bots that consumers brief to go out and find the best price or the most sustainable product. This is a game changer because we are no longer just marketing to humans, we are now marketing to algorithms that make buying decisions for their owners. Robots are now buying products and services for humans. From AI agents to the death of the search bar, the rules are being rewritten as we speak. And that ends our headline news for this episode.
Thank you for the quote and the headline news. I want to welcome Porsche and Sinsin to the studio to help us with this discussion. Co-hosts Pun and Midnight are also here. All right, everyone, let's get into the big one. We've been looking into the term new marketing frontier. Now, to be clear, we aren't industry titans on this subject, but we do know how to do research and look for industry trends. So I'll start with Sinsin. What did you find out about the old versus new when it comes to marketing? And what's the biggest aha moment maybe that you found?
In the old days, meaning just a few years ago, marketing was broadcast. You push a message out and hope it stuck. But in the new frontier, it's all about the quality of the signal versus the annoyance of the sound, or signal versus noise. We've reached a point where people have developed what we call digital calluses. We don't just ignore ads, our brains literally don't see or hear them anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense. One report called it the ghosting of brands. Consumers are just moving on. What do you think, Pun?
Yeah, it's not that people stop buying stuff, they just stop listening to brands. They're listening to each other. The frontier isn't a new platform like a new Instagram or a new TikTok. The frontier is a new behavior. We're all moving from the traditional search behavior to now just wanting the answer. I don't want to browse 5 websites. I want AI or my friend to give me the one right answer. Porsche, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the old frontier was about reach. How many people saw this, or heard that, or received that? Whatever the message was. It was about quantity. But the new frontier is about resonance. So, what does this mean? In the context of marketing, it simply means that the message, content, or experience is deeply connected with a specific group of people. It mirrored their beliefs, needs, and emotions. It doesn't matter if 1 million people see you, if 0 people trust you.
So the frontier isn't out there in space or a new digital platform or a technology. It's actually in the level of connection we have with a specific audience. Now let's move to the how. This is where we talk about the term micro-communities. Porsche, what are micro-communities?
A micro-community is basically a living room. These living rooms can be physical spaces or digital spaces. People are fleeing into the big public feeds because they're too noisy and toxic. They are retreating into private, more controlled spaces. Where do you feel more at home and comfortable? In a large stadium with 50,000 other people, or in your own comfortable living room? The same goes for online spaces. You are just a small number in an online group of 10,000 people, as compared to being someone whose voice matters when you're in a small group of maybe 25 people. Sinsin, what are your thoughts about this?
I think it comes down to trust. In a group of 25 people who all love the same hobby and are around the same age and demographic, the trust level is probably close to 100%. Then imagine a brand trying to barge into the group with a pop-up ad or an annoying billboard that shouts at them. The members will kick it out, maybe even tell their friends to reject that brand. But if that brand actually offers real value to the group, solves a pressing problem, or helps, well, that's where the brand then builds trust.
Yeah, this is why brands need to tread lightly in these places. But if I'm a business, how do I survive only on 25 people or even 50 people? Don't I need thousands of customers to pay the bills?
Yeah, that was my question too. But these micro communities act like hubs. One person in a trusted group of 50 talks to another group of 50. It's word of mouth 2.0. It's not about the brand talking to the customer. It's about the brand giving the customer something so cool that they have to tell their friends about it. It's old school, and it's also the new school.
And where does tech fit in? Because 2026 is the year of Agentic AI. How do these bots fit into human communities? What do you think, Porsche?
This was the cool part. AI community assistants are the new future for these groups. Instead of a bot that tries to sell you stuff, it's a bot that guides you to your answers or helps solve a real problem the group has. Tech makes the human connection easier while solving real-world problems, not selling stuff.
The tech is the community infrastructure, not the soul of the community. Marketing of the future needs both.
Exactly. Now to wrap up our session, we put together a list of 10 terms that keep popping up in marketing and are related to our topic today. So let me start off with our first term. It is GEO, which stands for Generative Engine Optimization. This is about making sure AI engines like Google Gemini actually know your brand exists, so they can recommend it. Pun, what's our next word?
Yeah, our next term is dark social. This sounds spooky or wrong, but it just means all of the sharing that happens in private messaging where marketers can't see it. It's the underground of the internet. Dorcas has the next term.
Yes, and our next term is Agentic AI. These are AI agents that can actually do things for you. Instead of just searching for shoes, you tell your AI, find me shoes like this under $100 and buy them. Sinsen, what's next?
Our next term is zero-party data. This is data a customer gives you because they like you, like when you fill out a quiz or questionnaire freely for a brand. It's the opposite of cookies that track you secretly. Porsche, what term do you have?
I have the word de-influencing. I like this one. It's when online influencers and creators tell you what not to buy. It sounds like bad marketing, but it builds more trust than any ad ever could.
Okay, so this next one is kind of a weird word, and I've never heard of it before, but it's called phygital experience. This is simply the blend of physical and digital, like using your phone in a store to see an AR version of how a sofa would look in your actual house. So, Pun, what's next?
Yeah, this one is more self-explanatory. It is community-led growth. This is when your fans do the marketing for you. If the community loves the product, they grow the business by inviting their friends. Now, Midnight, what do you have?
The next term is synthetic media. Any content made by AI, such as video, voice, or images. In 2026, it's becoming the standard for making high-quality ads on a student budget. Sinsen, you're next.
What about attention elasticity? This is a fancy way of measuring how much nonsense a user will put up with before they swipe away. Our patience is very, very thin. Porsche, what do you have?
I have the last term, and it's the words trust economy. The idea that trust is an actual currency. If you have it, you can sell anything. If you lose it, no amount of AI or money can buy it back.
Ooh, I like that. Trust economy. All right, so this has been a great conversation about the new frontier of marketing. I think we've learned that while the tools are getting more complex, the goal is getting simpler. Just be a trusted human in a digital world. I really think it's just that simple. All right, so don't go away. We'll be right back after this short PSA.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Before we move on to the next part of our show, I want to take a moment to talk about something that gets lost in all the hype about algorithms, AI, and data. Marketers spend all day planning and strategizing on how to reach people, how to convert them, and how to keep them engaged. But as we move further into 2026, the biggest challenge marketers face is about digital burnout. Every day, we are bombarded by thousands of messages. Our phones are buzzing with notifications from apps we don't even remember downloading. We're part of group chats we don't participate in, and we follow brands that don't actually bring any value to our lives and mostly just distract us. So, here is our digital pre-summer cleaning challenge for you. First, take a few moments to audit your notifications. If an app hasn't made you smarter, happier, or more productive in the last few weeks, turn its permissions off. You don't need to be available to every algorithm at every hour of the day. Second, look at your micro communities. Are you actually engaging with people, or are you just lurking in the shadows of an online group? Marketing is about connection, and connection requires you to show up and participate. And finally, remember that behind every user ID and every target persona, a real person is looking for a solution to a problem or a bit of inspiration. Well, minus all the bots, of course. In the future, the people who win won't be the ones with the biggest and loudest voice. It will be the people who respect each connection they have, build trust, and don't steal time or attention. And that is a Student Incorporated public service announcement. We want to see a future where marketing isn't just a noise, but it's a service. Thank you.
And we are back. For this segment, we bring you part 9 of our 10-part adventure story titled The Mystery of St. Augustine. Before we jump into part 9, here's a brief recap of part 8.
Driven by the shock of Sarah Ferguson's death, James and Cece lead a midnight expedition into the restricted depths of the Castillo de San Marcos. Beneath the stone foundation, the team uncovers physical evidence suggesting that a long-lost vessel was entombed when the harbor's shoreline was reclaimed centuries ago. This discovery confirms that the treasure isn't lost at sea, but is hidden beneath the city's most famous landmark. However, the team's movements were being tracked. Agents of the Syndicate, now operating outside their original contract, cornered the group within the fort's narrow corridors. A tense standoff ensues as the hunters demanded to know what the researchers had found. The encounter reached a breaking point in the darkness of the fort's interior, where the silence was shattered, leaving the fate of the team and the final mystery hanging in the balance. And now, without further ado, here's part 9, titled The Fallout.
Chris heard a soft paw followed by a high-pitched sing move past his right ear. Breaking glass could be heard behind him. Then he felt it. The graze of the second bullet burned across the upper part of his right arm. He imagined it felt the same as if someone had taken the pointed end of the stick that had been resting in the fire and scraped it across his arm with force. His shirt sleeve split open, revealing a deep scrap of his upper bicep. The first bullet missed his face, and the second about to hit him in the upper chest. He instinctively dropped down to the ground low and jumped to the left, taking cover behind the interior shelf.
Hawthorne had just watched the second person raise his gun and fire 2 shots, back to back. He noticed the gun had a silencer attached. The sound was muffled and did not create an echo in the narrow hallway. It was a weird sound. He had ducked down just in time to watch 2 spent cartridges eject just over his head, bounce off the wall, and fall at his feet. So without thinking, he grabbed one of them, burning his palm in the process. He then glanced back at Cece, hoping she was able to get out of the way. This guy's a psychopath, he thought to himself. His mind then went to Chris. Had he gotten out of the way? Was he hit?
I know I hit you, Chair 5 yelled towards the dark gift shop.
What are you doing? Chair 4 exclaimed. Wait!
Come on, they don't know anything. Let's finish this, replied Chair 5.
3 loud cracks came from behind Hawthorne, loud enough to make both his ears ring. The sound bounced off the hallway walls. He ducked even lower. Hawthorne then watched as one of the guys, the one who shot first, dropped to the floor and then slumped over toward the wall with his eyes still wide open.
Chair 5 crumpled to the ground. His gun fell out of his hand. He leaned over onto his left side, resting his shoulder and head against the wall. Sharp pain followed. Then everything went black.
That was for Sarah, Cece yelled.
Chair 4 was in shock. He raised his gun and pulled the trigger. Click, click, nothing. Misfire. In a split second, 4 jumped backward into the corridor and then ducked around the corner as another shot rang out and hit the stone wall behind him.
Hawthorne looked back at Cece, who was now standing up with her small handgun pointing toward the corridor. I'm standing up now, Hawthorne said to Cece as he grabbed the other gun sitting on the floor in front of him. Come on, let's back up slowly into the gift shop. Keep your gun trained on that corner. I'll call 911.
What about him? Cece asked as she looked down at the guy slumped against the wall.
He's gone. You made sure of that. Let's move back into the gift shop, Hawthorne replied. We need to check on Chris.
A voice came from behind a counter in the gift shop. I was grazed in the arm, but we'll be okay. I'm on the phone with the police, and they're on their way, Chris said.
They all moved slowly toward the gift shop exit door while keeping an eye on the hallway. We need to create as much space between that other guy and us. He ducked back around the corner when his gun misfired, which I'm very, very thankful for, Hawthorne said.
Chair 4 could hear the people talking, but did not want to poke his head around the corner. He was pressed up against the wall, just waiting and wondering what he should do. He then heard a distant police siren. He paused for a moment, then decided to find another way out of the fort. There was no way he was going to get caught. So he moved back down the corridor in the opposite direction, found a service exit, cut the alarm, and left the fort, heading in the opposite direction from the parking lot.
Chair 2 glanced in the rearview mirror and saw a single police cruiser coming their direction. Its lights were flashing, and its sirens were loud. She knew if they all stayed calm and stayed out of sight, the police car would drive right by them. So that's what they did. Tier 2, crouching down low in its driver's seat, saw movement to her left. Someone came running out of the wooded area and right into the street. She squinted her eyes to see who this person could be, and that's when the headlights of the police car rounded the corner and shone directly on the person who was now standing in the middle of the street. "Oh, bleak," Midnight said under her breath. She then watched as Chair 4 sprinted across the street into the vacant lot, hopped the fence, and kept running, disappearing into the dark.
Was that 4 we just saw? Chair 3 asked from the back seat.
"Yes, it was," Minna replied. "Stay quiet, don't move." They all watched as the police cruiser sped by and slammed its brakes close to where Chair 4 had run across the road and into the field beyond. One police officer jumped out of the passenger side of the car and took off running in the same direction as Chair 4. Then, the police car sped off and turned left into the fort's main parking lot area. Then, another squad car came to the scene, drove slowly up and down the street, shining its searchlight in the direction Chair 4 was running.
Looks like we're stuck in the middle, 3 could be heard saying softly from the back seat.
As soon as the second cop car leaves the street, get out and push us toward the straight corner, the one without the light. We can turn the car onto that street and then leave. Chair 6 instructed, and then added, Chair 4 is on his own now. He knows what to do.
"Good call, 6, Midnight said. 3, you ready?"
I guess. Just don't leave me when you turn the car on, 3 replied.
Tom watched 2 police cars with lights and sirens pass him on the narrow street a few blocks from the fort. A moment later, he pulled into the parking lot and saw Professor Hawthorne and Cece standing next to one of the police cars, talking with an officer. A different officer was attending to Chris with first aid, and the third officer was holding his service weapon and a radio. Approaching the gift shop, door off in the distance, a fire rescue ambulance arrived with yet another police vehicle that turned into the parking lot, dropped another officer off, and then left. Tom approached Cece and asked, "What's going on? Are you guys okay?"
Yeah, we're okay, Cece answered. Chris was grazed in the arm, but he'll be fine.
The medical team will take care of him, Tom replied. So I take it this group, whoever they are, followed you all here? At that moment, yet another car pulled into the parking lot. Lieutenant Walsh was not on scene as well.
Looks like it's going to be a busy night, Walsh said to Tom and Cece as he walked up to greet them. My deputies and I will process this scene tonight. We also know the other guy involved here tonight is on the run, with a few of our officers searching right now. Reaching out his hand towards Cece, Lieutenant Walsh then asked, "It sounds like your actions were justified, at least by what my deputies told me. But as protocol suggests, I'll need you to go to the precinct tonight, file an official report, and I'll also need to collect your concealed carry gun temporarily."
I understand, Cece replied, and then carefully placed her handgun into an evidence bag that Lieutenant Walsh was holding out.
Hawthorne had joined in the conversation. They all watched as the ambulance Chris was in left the parking lot. James then said, "Lieutenant Walsh, I grabbed a shell casing and the gun of the guy who's in the hallway in there. I want to hand those over to you. I think there's still one more shell casing somewhere in there."
Lieutenant Walsh held out another evidence bag and placed the gun and shell casing inside. "Thank you. We'll try to pull prints off this, and the shell casing may help as well. Maybe there's something in our database?"
"Do you know who these people are?" Hawthorne asked.
"Well, it's funny you ask," Walsh replied. "We received a lead earlier today from our local postmaster general of a guy on CCTV, a stranger to the community who came into the post office the other day, got into a safety deposit box and then left. The postmaster sent over the footage. The guy was wearing the same hat as we had seen in the blurry CCTV footage from the night of the Historical Society break-in. And the hat matched one of the guys who left the basilica. This hat connects all these crimes. We also know the identity of the person who leases that safety deposit box." Walsh then asked, "You don't happen to know a lady by the name of Eleanor Bennett, do you?"
Tom, visibly shocked, then answered, "Yes, we do. In fact, we just had dinner with her earlier this evening. You don't think she's involved with this, do you?"
"That's what we're gonna find out," Tom replied. "We have an item that connects a person or several persons to 3 different crime scenes, maybe 4. We're now working up with our partners up in Jacksonville to see if the disappearance of the chef from the Deep Blue restaurant is also connected. And we know that Miss Bennett was at that restaurant the night the chef disappeared. And we have an eyewitness from staff that there were 2 new guys on staff that night that nobody knew.
So Eleanor connects all these things? Hawthorne replies. I can't imagine how she would be involved in the crime.
We are following the evidence, and well, they lead back to her. We will find out soon enough, Walsh replied. I've said too much. I'll keep you posted, but for now, please stay safe and just know we are taking care of this. This will be over soon.
Where are we going now? Chair 3 asked Midnight from the back seat.
Chair 4 knows protocol dictates we meet back at the safe house, so that's where we're going. We can regroup there and then decide if we should proceed or cut our losses and leave. Chair 2 answered from the front seat.
I say we cut our losses, Chair 3 replied. Chair 5 is either caught or dead, and I don't want to be either of those things.
That decision is not yours to make. We'll contact Chair 1 and discuss the next steps, Midnight replied.
Tom, Cece, and Professor Hawthorne were still standing and talking in the parking lot outside the old fort. That evening's activities had taken their toll on them. Not sure if this is the right time or place, but I think we need to discuss what you guys found here tonight and what we should do next, Tom said.
Let me check in with Anne. Cece can fill you in on what we found here tonight. She even has a sample that needs to be evaluated, James replied. James then walked a few steps away and called Anne to let her know what had happened.
We think we found Drake's ghost ship, Cece told Tom.
Really? Where? Tom asked.
There's evidence, which I have a small piece of, that it's buried in the mud and slid under the southeast section of the fort. That's where the old pier used to be, and it appears this ship sank right next to the pier it was tied up against, Cece replied. It's stuck real good in the mud. I'd say it would take a month minimum to evacuate it.
This we keep to ourselves right now, Tom replied. What about Chris?
He knows, but he also said he will keep this quiet for now, Cece answered.
Yes, we need to do this the right way, so that this doesn't get exploited. If this is true, this will be an amazing discovery. And to think that this has been stuck there, hiding under the fort for several hundred years, Tom said.
Hawthorne walked back over to join the conversation with Tom and Cece. Anne is quite worried about us, but is happy we're all okay, James said. So what's next?
We have 2 things to manage right now. Both are extraordinary, Tom replied. We now know the location, potential location that is, of both the sunken ships from Drake's Armada. One just off the outer coast north of here, and the other right here, stuck in the mud under the fort. Here in Florida, we have a specific and legal process to follow for these discoveries to be handled properly. I will get the ball rolling on that tomorrow. However, the first thing we need is to collect a little more evidence.
Will this small piece of wood I took from the mud be enough for the ship buried here? I also took a few photos with my phone of the plank of wood we found sticking out of the mud, Cece answered.
That's plenty of evidence for this location, along with the fact that 2 guys followed you here, looking for the same thing you were looking for, Tom answered. But we'll need to get some sonar evidence tomorrow. Bobby can get us that. I already scheduled for him to get out onto the water tomorrow at first light.
It's late and there's nothing more we can do tonight. What if we meet up tomorrow again, either at Bobby's office or at the Historical Society? Hawthorne asked.
Actually, let's meet at the Ponce lobby, Tom answered. Bobby is going out at first light, which is in about 4 hours from now. And my office is still off limits. I had to close the Society's building to the public for now, at least until Lieutenant Walsh and his team tell me I can reopen it. They still want access to it, in case they need to come back for the investigation. Cece, you going to be okay? Tom then asked.
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to stay with a friend tonight, Cece replied.
All right, see you tomorrow morning, Hawthorne said.
Chair 4 finally made it back to the safe house. He was tired, but unfazed at the events that had just happened at the fort. He was not a stranger to this type of work. Nor did he feel much empathy for what had happened to Chair 5. These hazards came with the job. He ascended quietly and quickly up a back stairwell, making sure to avoid any cameras. He stood in front of the condo door and inspected the door handle, the door frame, and the tile flooring. He was nervous and wanted to make sure nothing seemed out of place. He paused for a moment, then entered. The condo was quiet and dark. He did not turn on the light. He was holding his shoes and socks, which were still muddy and wet. He was tired. The distance he had covered on foot to get back to the safe house was far. He went into the kitchen area, looking for a garbage bag. He needed to dispose of his socks and shoes, then wait for the others. He entered the kitchen, found a garbage bag under the sink cabinet, and placed his dirty shoes and socks inside. He then noticed that all the knives were missing from the knife box setting on the counter next to the sink. That's weird. That's when he heard the voice coming from the dark living room.
Midnight drove back towards the safe house. She followed protocol. Don't park near the building, wait in the car and observe the streets and area around the building, take note of anything that seems out of place, and just sit there and wait for at least 20 minutes. The table members had been using the condo safe house as a base of operations for several weeks now. The risk, and Midnight knew it, was that the condo was owned by Eleanor Bennett, the person who had hired Iro. The table, subcontractors of Iro, were the unknown party that took care of the work that fell outside the law. Iro had benefited greatly over the years from the work the table had done for it. For Iro, the money and notoriety were good. For the table, the money was good. The notoriety was irrelevant.
Are we going to go up to the condo? Asked Chair 3.
We wait here first, just for a few more minutes, Midnight answered. We don't know where Chair 4 is. We don't know if he eluded the police. Maybe he's up in the condo, maybe he's not.
I can go scout it out if you want, Chair 3 asked.
Midnight did not answer as she and Chair 6 were looking out the front windshield intently, up towards the top floor of the building, which sat 2 blocks away. There was, what looked like, a person standing on a small balcony of the condo, gesturing and waving his arms and shouting. All of a sudden, there were 2 more individuals in tactical gear grabbing and pulling the individual back inside. That's when Midnight noticed the SWAT team vehicles parked one street over. We're compromised, Midnight said as she started the car. 6, call Chair 1 and tell him we're heading north. Also, tell him that Chair 4 and 5 are out of the picture.
Early that next morning, Hawthorne was in the lobby at the Ponce waiting for Tom. Amanda had already notified James that she was not going to go back out in the boat a second time. The previous time, which was only a few days ago, she had gotten a little seasick. Anne was staying back, and so was Olivia. It looked like it was just going to be the guys this time. Cece wasn't going either.
Tom walked into the lobby and immediately saw Professor Hawthorne yawning in the corner while sipping a cup of coffee. Ready to go, Professor? Tom asked as Hawthorne approached him and handed him a cup of coffee. Thanks, Tom replied. We need this after last night.
It's just me, you, and Bobby this morning, Hawthorne said as they walked out the front doors. After a short drive, Hawthorne and Tom arrived at First Coast Charters. It was early morning and most boats were still docked in the marina. Bobby had gotten everything ready and was there waiting.
All right, you two ready? Bobby asked as Tom and the professor approached.
Thank you for doing this on such short notice, Tom replied.
Not sure if you have seen it yet this morning, but there is speculation all over the news about what's going down here in St. Augustine, Bobby said as he handed over life vests.
Wow, that was fast, and we haven't even finished our morning coffee yet, Hawthorne replied as he boarded the charter boat.
It's a small town, and this kind of news travels fast, replied Tom. We just need to keep the information about Drake's ship out of the news cycle for at least another day or so. This will give us time to get confirmation on both ships and their locations.
Understood, Bobby replied. And did you say 2 ships? Bobby looked at both Hawthorne and Tom as he steered the boat out of the harbor and into the open ocean. Bobby had set the coordinates Tom had given him into his GPS. The search area was small, which would be helpful and could be done with 1 boat and the sonar Bobby had on board.
All we need is definitive evidence from your sonar imaging and the data it collects. That evidence, along with other items we have collected, is all we need to submit our findings to the state and national directory. This will lock in our discovery, the people involved, and will help us set up a salvaging plan, Tom answered.
Copy that, Bobby replied. Alright, the sonar device is in the water, and the signal is strong. If there's anything buried in the seafloor within the search grid you gave me, we will see it on this screen.
Anything geometric in shape, with sharp corners, flat surfaces, anything that does not look organic in nature. That's what we're looking for, Hawthorne replied. I've got to say, in all my years searching for stuff, this is a first for me, an ocean search.
Well, Bobby replied, I'm not sure what it is, but does that fit your description? Bobby was pointing at the monitor screen, which showed what looked like straight lines and other odd shapes on the screen. He put the engine in idle and made sure the equipment was recording the images the sonar was picking up.
Hawthorne looked at the screen and then it appeared. He said, Tom, you got to see this. Hawthorne then pointed to the outline showing on the screen of what resembled the shape of a ship and other scattered debris.
This is enough confirmation for me, Tom replied as he stared at the screen. Bobby, make a few passes over this spot, approaching from different positions and get as much details as possible.
Will do, boss, Bobby said with excitement in his voice. Who would have ever thought that First Coast Charters would be the outfit that finds one of Sir Francis Drake's sunken galleons?
You're about to become quite popular locally if this is it, Tom replied. Keep this confidential, at least for today. I'll take this evidence and then make a phone call once we get back to shore. Now, as far as whether any valuables are a part of this wreck, they will belong to the state of Florida, since these are Florida waters.
And that is where it should stay. However, I think the English and the Spanish may have something to say about that, Hawthorne replied.
I'm sure an agreement can be made between these three countries. 2 English ships carrying Spanish cargo and valuables sink in American waters? This could be an interesting political chess game, Tom answered. Well, at least we solved the mystery of St. Augustine.
Midnight was staying in line, stuck behind a family with 5 kids. The security line was moving slowly, and the airport departure area was full of people. It was a busy morning. The Jacksonville airport was medium-sized, but even with its recent expansions and upgrades done 2 years ago, it was still not large enough to handle the number of travelers. Chair 2 was annoyed by the fact they had to abort the secondary mission. The payout from the gold coin recovery was fair, but she wanted the big find. She was alone and wanted to keep it that way, at least until she was out of the United States. She finally made it through security and was sitting at her gate, looking out at the large window towards the runway. She watched as planes came and went. It reminded her of the life she lived now. The coming and the going, city after city, identity after identity. It was always a blur. This Florida job would also become a blur as well. She looked up at the digital signboard as she heard one of the gate agents tell them they could now board, and to have a nice flight to Amsterdam.
Between the new marketing frontier and the drama of our adventure story, we've covered a lot of content today. The marketing takeaway for 2026 is simple. The tools are more powerful than ever, but they're also more transparent. Whether you're a student or a global brand, your success in this new landscape depends on being the most trusted person. Authenticity wins. Don't forget to join us next week for our Season 4 finale episode, which also includes the final part of the Mystery of St. Augustine. I'm Mr. Jason, and on behalf of the whole team, thanks for listening. We'll see you at the finish line next week. And as always, this podcast would not be possible without the hard work and support of our international student production team.
All music and sound effects are courtesy of Pixabay.com, a vibrant community of creatives sharing copyright-free images, videos, and music.
And we're signing off until next time. We are Students Incorporated, because your voice matters.